Hi, Ron. I'm going to record this, so it is recording. All right. Yes, okay. And then I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint. So I have a couple slides to walk through first. I am Jen Bonnett, Executive Director of the Creative Coast, formerly a coder. Let me hide that. Formerly a coder, and no longer a coder, and kind of miss it actually. So playing around with this for the last couple of weeks has been fun. But I put together this class on low and no code platforms for building your MVP. And I put it together in part because we just wrapped up our Idea Accelerator Bootcamp. And as part of that boot camp, we teach, as I was just talking around about, our lean startup methodology, the customer development model as developed by Steve Blank out of Stanford University, to go out into the marketplace and test your idea, first through interviews and then through kind of these ideas of low code MVPs. Sorry. And so I put together this class, and the timing was kind of perfect such that people that graduated from the class, if they validated that there was a market for their business, they might wish to start testing with some of these MVPs. And so that's why I put together the class. This is me, again, recovering entrepreneur, 7 companies, 52 million raised in venture and angel companies. That's actually a picture of me out of People magazine there, lots of fun. 3 successful exits, moved to Savannah, I guess 19 months ago to help catalyze the startup community in the region. But former coder. At the end of the day, I'm a mathematics and computer science geek and was a coder by trade. And so I want to talk a little bit about why this low code, no code situation has happened, what it is, the difference between low code and no code, and how do you make a decision on these tools, which a lot depends on what type of app it's going to be and where it's going to live, meaning on a mobile device or in the web. And that process still matters. Talk about a couple of tools, and then I picked one that's kind of a middle level tool called Barber to prototype a quick app for the Creative Coast today. And hopefully everything will go well, because when you demo things, you never know. I'm going to go basically from starting a brand new account on Barber to testing an app, hopefully. So why has this happened? Well, it's happened because over time, the customer of software development has changed, right? At first, software development was all about this back-end data processing, accounting, back office stuff. Then it moved to IT, right? And then it moved to the internet. And now mobile devices has made the consumer, the general consumer of these apps. And so speed to market has become crazy fast. You have to get things out quick. You have to get things out iterating fast. And so you're trying to shorten the timeline. And also we have talent issues. So this idea of building these platforms that help put tools into the end customer's hands to build apps or build reports or that can help them do their jobs better became really important in the last decade, really since the 90s. So low code and no code typically is talking about a PaaS, platform as a service tool, that enables the rapid development of business applications with minimal coding. And so what that means is most of these tools exist as either a desktop client that's connected to the internet or as a actual client built into your browser that allows you to essentially build an application through drag and drop interfaces. And so this concept of platform as a service, you typically pay the platform a monthly subscription fee or annual subscription fee based on the number of apps, the type of apps, and it's usually a number of users. So if you have a team all using the same platform, you'll be paying more than if you have you're a single developer. In general, low code versus no code depends on the style of coding. And many of these low code tools have a no code version. The target user of low code is somebody that's somewhat technical, right? And if you looked at a business functionality for this person, they probably have application knowledge or business process expert pro. So, people customizing Salesforce screens, right? Or people customizing how data flows from one place to another. The other thing about low code is that it typically does have some drag and drop interfaces, but you have the ability to add a scripting language like JavaScript so that somebody that's a coder could add even more features to the platform. In no code, the target user is quote unquote the citizen developer. It's the business end user, the startup founder, and it's primarily drag and drop. Process still matters. So when you're starting to think about this, you should sit down and say, okay, what features are needed? And I'm going to run you through a flow that helps answer these questions. Where will your app live? And then I recommend user flows, annotated wireframes, and document your content and graphic needs ahead of time so you know where you're pulling them from. You're going to see me pulling from a cheat sheet that I put together for my demo. As we build the demo out, the other key things is project management, right? It's one thing, I guess, if you're building it by yourself, to maybe be a little bit looser on that. But if you have partners that are maybe your graphic designer and or other people that are providing you content to upload, you're going to want to set a timeline and do those at least weekly stand-ups with those partners to make sure everything's coming together. And then lastly, test, right? So you need to test through the web. You need to test it on the devices if it's actually releasing to an iOS or Android device, which most of these platforms will allow you to do that. So this is, I don't know how this shows up on your screen because it's pretty small, but basically this is how you decide what kind of app you're building. Or it's one way to decide, right? And this is really, are you building a truly mobile native application, right? That lives on your iOS or Android device? Are you building a hybrid app, which means that you have a native app, but some of it is actually doing more in the cloud? Are you building an adaptive web app that is basically a web application that appears to run like a native app when it's on your phone, but is really a web app, and it screens knowing whether you're server side or client side to make decisions. Mobile web app is simply a web application that's been designed to run on a mobile phone, and then a responsive web app is one that resizes, right? So those are kind of the 5 different options. And so there's a series of questions that you can ask yourself when you're thinking about building your app. And the first one is, are you using features that are typically on your phone, right? Are you using the camera? Are you using a microphone? Are you using GPS? Are you using the accelerometer? Are you using the push notifications, your contact files or file uploads? Right? If the answer is no, then it's going to drive you towards a web app. For simplicity's sake, if the answer is yes, it's going to drive you more towards mobile, right? The next question is, can users justify using space on their home screen mobile device memory for the application? So that is a customer discovery question, right? Will your users download their app and put it on their phone's screen, right? So that's something that hopefully you've answered through customer discovery. Next one is about graphics and calculation speed. So how intense are the graphics, right? How intense is calculation? My last app that I built and had in the store was an expense management solution, but it used optical character recognition to read the receipts. And so you took a picture of the receipt, it scanned it, it stored it locally, eventually deleted it locally, but then sent it to the cloud to be scanned by OCR, the optical character recognition. The optical character recognition was too powerful to run on a mobile device. So it had to kind of be this hybrid app where that part was done in the cloud. And that was necessary because of the processing requirements. You have to think a little bit about the processing requirement. You know, the next question is about, do you need a device for mobile navigation, right? So there are some apps that like are only really going to work on a device. You know, you would never use Uber on a desktop because you need Uber to be out there with you, right? And then the last question really, our last two questions are, do you need to reduce maintenance costs due to OS releases? So one of the challenges with actually releasing an iPhone or Android app is the number of patches that get applied to the operating system on the phone. It's a continuous cycle, especially when a new release of the operating system comes out. And you have to apply resources every single time an operating system change happens to make sure that your app doesn't break and or upgrade it. And a lot of companies can't afford to do that. So they might want to go more with a hybrid or adaptive web app in that case. And then the last one is need to store data. So this is a good chart just to get you thinking about what features you want to use and whether or not you go native or responsive web app. And that's part of this is a customer discovery question versus a technical question. But it's important to be thinking about these questions or as you design your app. The next thing I would say is I would want to draw a user flow, right? And so this, you know, you might set up a user flow for each function of like create a user account, right? How does a user create an account, right? For Nexpense, we had user flows for, you know, how does somebody upload a receipt, right, for their expense report? How does somebody activate their expense report, print their, right? So you would want to create user flows for each of the main processes that you need your app to function to do. And then you would create wireframes. Now this is a web wireframe, but you can do it a wireframe for a mobile app as well. You know, what is happening in each section of the screen for your user. And then I like annotated wireframes. So I like ones that actually say, okay, when you press on this button, this is what's going to happen. Or when you say like for this top story, the left-hand top column, this is where you're going to pull this data from, such that somebody could actually code form it. And that's the last couple of big projects I did. We never went into full text specs. Well, that's not true, except for APIs. We did annotated wireframes to describe how the functions used and handed those those were approved by the client and then handed to the customer or to the programmers to code. So that's a little bit about process. The next slide, I've identified some apps. These are actually the tools that are considered these lower no code apps. And I broke it into 4 different types. So data-centered apps, business process apps, website apps, and mobile apps. The data-centered apps are really about capturing data, displaying data, and possibly even infographics. And I went kind of from the least sophisticated to the most sophisticated. So Google Forms could be considered, you know, a tool, because you can create a form, it can add data to a spreadsheet, you can do different things with that spreadsheet. And so I consider that a very basic data-centered app. The more sophisticated would be, of course, Airtable. which you can actually build like mini apps with that to collect data and share. Business process apps tend to be more about how does data get transformed as it moves from step to step to step in a business. And so, you know, the least sophisticated of that might be Zapier or IFTTT, right? So a little bit more sophisticated would be Podio or Zoho Creator. And then the most Salesforce, Microsoft, and Oracle, who all allow significant customizations to their various platforms as data moves from one side to the next. Website applications, I probably would have reversed these two. I probably should have put Squarespace, Wix, Webflow before WordPress. So, you know, at the very basic, because WordPress gets so complex because of all the plugins. So these are tools that have specific preset features that you can add on. So on Squarespace, Wix, or WordPress through WooCommerce, you can add a store, you can add various features through their plugins. Squarespace has a set number of features that you can add, as does Wix. Bubble.io is an application building tool that is really for custom building apps. A web-based application. So say you wanted to create your own custom CRM for a certain industry, customer relationship management. Say you wanted to create a CRM that was specialized to physical therapists. I don't know if that's necessary, but it might be. You might go and use something like Bubble.io, where you can code basically from scratch using different modules. And then on the mobile side, we have Shout'em, which was very, very basic, kind of like WordPress for mobile apps, very basic. We have both my phones are ringing at the same time, very strange. Good Barber is the middle tier mobile application kind of builder that I found. And then for more sophisticated tools, you might use something like AppyPie or BuildFire. And I would lean towards AppyPie and BuildFire for those that are a little bit more tech savvy, meaning maybe you might need to use some JavaScript to build your app, things like that. We're doing on time, awesome. All right, so now I am going to get out of this and go to my app store. All right, so here's the bubble.io interface or description. Hopefully it'll come up. It looked pretty cool. I might do another demo on this later, but it allows you to have all those drag and drop interfaces that you can drag things to. For today, I chose Good Barber. So goodbarber.com. And when you land on their page, it basically just draws you straight into building an app. And that's what I'm going to try and do, and hope it doesn't blow up in my face. Any questions before I start building the app? Okay. If there's no questions, I'm going to minimize you guys again because it's in the way, and start building the app. So I'm going to go with a classic app. Creative Coast is not a store, it's more classic. So we have content that we want to share and maybe content that we want to ask for. So I'm going to go with the classic app. Click next. And I'm literally I'm starting a brand new account. Hopefully it'll let me use creativecoast.org because I use my personal email. All right, so I'm going to say Oops, too long. Yes, I should have known better. So I'm literally naming my app, and we are a nonprofit. So it asks you when you're setting this up to select what kind of company you are or why you're building an app, and say create app. And it's building that app, and then it's going to put me into a dashboard. Okay. Of course, my internet connection is unstable. Okay. No, we don't need to remember that. So it brings me into this getting started dashboard. And so the name is fine. The category is good. I don't really want a black app. So I'm going to change the background colors of my app. And creative post is blues and greens. So I'm going to pick holiday. I'm just going to apply it. We haven't done anything to our app, so I can apply a new theme without really worrying that it's going to break anything. So I'm going to go back to the checklist, and then the global style, you can come in and you can customize what kind of type you use. What kind you use, happen, roll over an image, all that sort of stuff. I'm not going to worry about that today. So I want to go back to my checklist. I want to add an app logo. So I'm going to go ahead and add an app logo. And we just did a new website, so I have a bunch of our logos and stuff sitting out here. So I'm going to use the TCC full logo. All right, and I want to add an app icon. And I want to customize this. So I'm going to upload, and it's not going to like this very much, but I'm going to go ahead and upload just our little circle icon, just a little circle. Boom. Now it's had to, that's actually the .ico file or whatever for very very small, so it doesn't like it because it's had to stretch it, but for now I'm not going to worry about that. Right, and we loaded that, but it didn't like it, so just give a red check mark, right? Splash screen, I'm going to go ahead and add, let's go ahead and we'll do an image as well. And I'm going to go with the front of our postcard that we created. It's not perfect, but it'll give you an idea. So this would launch with the iPhone, on the iPhone XS. Come on. The image of the quality will be degraded, but that's okay, right? So kind of gives you a feel for, hey, we're a space. Back to checklist. All right. Contents of my app. All right. So now we get into the nitty-gritty. So this is our test app. I can run it in preview with the demo content that they added. So they've got some featured article, add an event, all sorts of cool stuff, right? We can go to the navigation and we can see how the navigation works. But I haven't done any of that. That's just all preceded by the, from the demo app. So I'm gonna close that window and go back over here. And I'm gonna actually go to sections. I'm not gonna add a section just now. I'm going to actually delete the blog section, delete, no, I don't wanna delete that one. I wanna delete the calendar section. we're never gonna, well, we're not gonna do community either. So I'm just gonna delete, yes, get rid of the content. I don't want the content out there, and delete. All right, so now we have almost an empty app. So I'm gonna add a section. And these are some of all the different sessions I can add, right? I can add a generic blog, I can add a gallery, I can add TV, I can add Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I can add a contact us. I'm definitely gonna add a contact us. So let's go ahead and do that. I can edit the contact us. So I'm gonna add email. Oh. Do Jen email. That I don't need to do. Right. Now I can add Twitter. Helps if I can type properly. All right, and our contact us is done. We've got email and Twitter. So I go back to the checklist right now, but so as I type, it saves it automatically, so I don't really have to worry about saving it. Oh, I didn't really want to go back to getting started because we're pretty much done there. I want to add another section other than contact us. I want to add, I don't really want to add Facebook. It does have WordPress, so I could pull in a WordPress blog here. That won't work for my website because it requires a plugin, and we, because of the tools that we use for, or the company that helped us build our WordPress, we're not allowed to add plugins ourselves. But I can still get my blog on here by adding an RSS feed, right? And so I have a little cheat sheet over here. Our RSS feed for the main website is just /feed, and I'm going to call it articles. So I'm going to add that. And I want it to be just under home. I'm going to add another section. Remember, I erased the calendar. I don't want to add their calendar because that means I'd have to add the content to this calendar. We already have a calendar on our website that I just want to display. So I want to create a calendar section. And I have the RSS feed from our calendar page on our website that I saved to my cheat sheet over here. Again, this is why you want to map things out ahead of time so you know which feeds you need and things like that. So we're going to add calendar. And I want that to be above add your events. Add your event, I want to edit. It is a form, so it's got a bunch of fields on it. I'll show you in a sec. But what I want to do is I want to send it when somebody submits it to Jen at the Creative Coast. I think save. All right. So now when somebody sends in a new message through the events, I actually get an email and I can decide whether or not to put it on there. And so we've added a bunch of stuff. Hope you're all still with me. I'm going to go ahead and preview. So, and you can see up in the top corner, I can look at it on an iPhone, on an iPad, or on a computer. So I'm pulling in my events. All right. I guess I previewed from the event page, so let's go home. So I may need to change the order. I've got add an event at the top. Then I've got our website, articles. Then I've got our lunch and learns. Now, I do have a problem here because the images aren't showing, and that's because of my WordPress setup. So I've had to email my vendor that built my website to allow photos to show on RSS feeds. But that's why that's happening. If I look at the calendar, I can see all the calendar of events. I can add an event. So I enter the title, the date, the time, where, and my email address, and then submit, and it's going to send me an email, right? And I've got my contact us, which they can email me or they can go to our Twitter. Right, so let's close that. I got one more section I'm going to add, and then I'm going to give you kind of a bigger overview. Homepage. A couple of things. Editing the homepage, modify the design. So what's happened is I've added a lot of things, and I want the articles on top. So I just need to drag and drop such the articles are on top. And now the articles are on top for my homepage. But I am going to go back to my sections. I'm going to add YouTube because that's a little bit tricky. With YouTube, I'm going to say videos. We've been posting all of our videos for all these classes to our YouTube channel, right? The Creative Coast. So I need to get the channel code, channel ID out of YouTube, which is this lovely script right here, which I'm going to add it to my app. Go back here. So I'm going to use my channel ID. And then I need an API code for YouTube. So I had to go into the Google Cloud platform and set up an API code for YouTube, which I did last night. So copy that and paste it here. And now I'm going to add that channel. And so now I've got YouTube showing up. My YouTube channel is showing up on my app. Boom, I can watch the video and everything right here. Hi, Kate. There you are.
So you're the only other person.
So that's, this has been a very content-centric app that I've built that has our articles, our events, an ability to contact us, an ability to add an event, and to watch our videos, which for the Creative Coast would be pretty awesome, right? To have all those things. But I want to show you a little bit more about some of the other things that you can do. So you can add, there's somebody in chat. Ah, cool. So they have all these things that are pre-coded that you can just automatically add, contact us, about, favorites, RSS feeds, podcast feeds, a map, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You can automatically add a quick QR code. You could use HTML to embed forms or use their form field. So if you say you had a Google form or a MailChimp form that you wanted to embed, you could take the HTML that MailChimp gives you and put it in a block here, and boom, you could have people filling out your subscribe to your newsletter. You can do standard links. You can embed Google Calendars, Facebook events, Vimeo, Shopify, so Amazon, all these stores, Flickr, Etsy, so you can add your store automatically. So some of the things that are probably the most useful for somebody that's more technical is going to be the HTML, but also these things called add-ons. And so right now I'm on a free account. I can't do any of these without paying, moving up to a paid account. But you can see they have all these different a couponing app, so you can do coupons, loyalty club, loyalty cards. That you can do a community, so you can have a user community kind of messaging within your app. You can add authentication, so people have to log on, username and password to your app just by implementing this add-on. You can do chat built in automatically just by adding this add-on. Geofencing beacons, you can do scheduled push notifications. You can do SMS notifications to your users. You can add Squarespace. You can add ads, so you can monetize your app. And then you can implement some different features around audio, live stuff, streaming, videos, whatnot. And then probably, you know, the most, for a true coder, you could add API access. So this would allow you to access APIs from other applications to pull data in, or push data out, such that, say you wanted to build an app that, I don't know, modified a record in Salesforce. As long as you have the right developer keys for Salesforce, you could call their API with this API access and do that. You can also upgrade and build your own plugins, and then those plugins could be saleable to the Good Barber community, people that are using Good Barber to build their app. And so that's kind of how you can extend this even further. But again, you know, we built in about 20 minutes a rough prototype of an app for the Creative Coast that pulls the latest content from our website and our video channels and allows people to upload more content or share more content that we could share on the site in about 20 minutes. Not perfect, like I said. No, I'm having a problem with the images pulling, but I actually found out what that was and contacted our web developer this morning, and hopefully we'll get that resolved, and this afternoon we'll have that running. Now, I've done all this for free too, right? So this, I have not yet, they give you 30 days free, and you do not have to pay until you really get ready to publish it. So now, any questions people might have.
Do you want us to type the questions or just ask?
You can just ask.
Okay, so on that note around the pictures not manifesting in the app, how did you determine that that was the reason? Is that just something that you know because you have such vast experience?
Yeah, so I'll show you how I figured it out. What was that? The Creative Coast /feed. So yeah, I'm fairly technical, so I was able to look in here and see that, like, here's my most recent article, Good News, Free Bruce Medical, right? I can see the title, I can see the link. There's no image. So it's like, huh, there's no image here. So then I saw that. So then I literally said WordPress RSS feed with featured image. That's what I wanted to do. So does WordPress allow a featured theme? We're on RSS theme with the featured image. And so what I found was that there's all these articles on how to do it, and they're all related to new plugins. So then I reached out to my developer, because if I go to our WordPress site and I go to plugins, I went to plugins and I scrolled down here to search. Oh, now I'm on jobs. Great. Plugins. I scrolled down to search here, and I just was like, okay, so anything that refers to RSS. Do I have any plugins that refer to RSS? And only one does, the events. So I knew that none of the plugins that were described in Google that allowed that feature were on my dashboard, and I'm not allowed to add new plugins via the people that built our website for us. So yeah, that required a little bit of technical knowledge for me to figure out.
Thanks.
Ron, any questions from you? You're a little more technical.
I'm not sure anymore. I thought I was. My only question is, where can I see this again?
Yeah, so we're going to, after we're done here, we'll post this to the Creative Coast website under resources, under online learning. Resources online learning is where all of the videos for all the different classes that we've been teaching the last couple of weeks are posted to right now. And like I said, I may do another one with a little bit more sophisticated app. Either Bubble.io or the Build Fair. I'm really interested in mobile apps primarily, so that's why I'm not as interested in Bubble.io. Although people are home now, so people are using their desktops more than they were 2 weeks ago. I wonder if that statistic has changed. That'd be interesting to look at. So yeah, but it's pretty cool, pretty easy. You know, literally I was working on a more sophisticated one where I try and use the video to actually do a video, and that gets a little bit more complicated, and I wouldn't do it in Good Barber. I would do it in Build Fair, or Appy Pie would be the ones that I would probably use it in. But it's been fun playing around with them and testing them. Again, I'll show you my PowerPoint if I can find it again. The thing about having multiple screens going at the same time on my little laptop here is that I can't see all of them at the same time. So, you know, I think I put these kind of in order of complexity, easiest at the top to most complex at the bottom. So, you know, if you're doing something really data-centric, Airtable might be the fit. One of my startups out of Atlanta that's doing all the StaffWorks, it's doing all the automation around logistics workers and doing things like texting you available shifts and you can reply, is actually, the entire platform is built on Podio. They've got a WordPress website where people sign up and then everything goes into Podio. Everything from, you know, are you a skilled warehouse worker, like a forklift driver, or are you an unskilled workforce worker, a logistics worker that's maybe doing pick and pack or something like that, to where you've worked, to do you have transportation, to all those sorts of things. And then within the back end, which is all Podio, the logistics HR managers that schedule all the shifts, drag and drop and schedule the shifts and send out the messages, and all the workers get texted what shifts they're working, or if there's an open shift because somebody didn't show up, they can get a text message that says, hey, this shift is open right now. And it's all built on Podio, just to give you an idea of how crazy some of this stuff gets. You know, and then I'm looking probably to play with BuildFire and Appy Pie, you know, for a content or e-commerce website, e-commerce mobile app, which seems to be the sweet spot of Good Barber, I think it's great, but for something a little bit more sophisticated, you might need to go to one of those. I will say Good Barber, from my playing around with, was the easiest way to get something that looked pretty right away. Some of them looked pretty kludgy at the start. So, but Good Barber had some really nice templates, and it just seemed like everything looked good from the get-go. Right.
Hey, Jen, I have a question.
Yep. Oh, I didn't even know you were on. Hi, Kat.
Hey, if somebody were to develop an app in one of these programs, and then, you know, of course they sign up, whatever the fee is on a monthly fee, and then later on, let's just say a year down the line, they decide that whatever they used didn't offer enough features, that they wanted something more complex, can they easily move the app or rebuild it in on another one of using another one of these programs, and then easily have people upgrade? Does that make sense? Like, you know, if you put it out there for people to use, how do you distribute it if you switch what you were using?
Yeah, so it would just, the upgrade process would be probably the biggest pain, well, and the development process, right? The truth is, you're probably going to move, well, like say you started with Good Barber, you might move to an Appy Pie or to, but chances are, if it's working a year from now, you're going to want to go native. Like if you're building a mobile app, you're probably going to want to go native.
Okay.
Point. Like once you have customers and you're kind of using this to validate and prove that you can get customers, and eventually going to build an actual iOS app and Android app, right?
Okay.
So you're probably not, I guess, you know, the way I built this, all of our content lives elsewhere, right? I used RSS feeds and stuff to pull in, so I'm not adding new blog posts into this app, which you can. So you can see, I just clicked on content list, and you can see Clean Our Shores, Who Are We?
Okay.
These were articles that were pre-seeded into the demo app that were actually written into this app, right? So I intentionally did not create any content for the Creative Coast app. I pulled from other places such that I'm not creating new content just for this app, right? So the content lives elsewhere.
Okay.
Right? Such that that content will continue to exist elsewhere, even if I throw away this app, right? So that's, I guess, the catch-22 is what needs to be in the app versus what could be elsewhere. And can you, so I can move this content, the articles, the calendars will live on even if I delete this app. The YouTube videos will live on even if I delete this app.
Okay.
The add an event sent to my email, and I would add that event to our calendar, which would then automatically update the app through the RSS feed. So there's really no content that lives in this app. So I'm not worried about throwing it away. So let's just look at if you you'd probably want to do something similar for your idea, right? Your gigs would live on a server or website, and maybe your people live there too, but the scheduling of those two things might happen, or notifications might happen through the app.
Okay.
So I think you do have to think about that transition path in the future, but as an MVP tool, a tool to put something out there and see if people start using it, this is a really powerful way to start doing that, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm happy to help you think through that more if you want.
Okay.
Some of these tools have pre-written components that might even be a good fit. Like, might have like a CMS that already exists that you can just say, I'm going to modify the CMS to be particular to my customer type.
Okay.
So that some of them have modules. This had all those modules that we looked at. It didn't have a CMS. It didn't have a contact management solution, but it did have YouTube and all these Twitter and Facebook and things. So some of them have other modules like a CRM or an invoicing system that you can drag and drop into it and then modify from there. So I think that if you go back to, this process, you need to start here, right? What needs to live in the app,
Okay.
right? Versus what should be on a server, right? Do you need the GPS? Do you need to know where somebody is right now? Do you need to use the camera? You might. The answer might be yes. I want to take a picture of the person working or whatnot, right? So this is where you would start, and then you would draw it out on paper, right? And then you would make the tool decision, would be the order that you would do this, such that you made sure that whatever features you identified through this process, the questions and the drawings, then you have to make sure that the tool has a way to do each of those.
Okay.
Any other questions? I will post this video later today, so it'll be up there and you can come back and check it anytime you want, and watch for other stuff. Our next webinar is Tuesday, and it will be on, let's stop my share. It will be on book author. Create your masterpiece. So I have an experienced author that is going to talk about, part one is this coming Tuesday, part two is the following Tuesday. The first part is, your marketing strategy and content development, and part two is publishing on Amazon and other platforms. So that is the next two classes. And yes, Tracy, I can send you the slides. And if there's no other questions, that's all I got for today.
Thank you for doing this. This is great.
Thanks. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Wash your hands. Wash your hands. Wash your hands.
Thank you. Bye.